Smithills Hall dates back almost 1,000 years, and many mysteries are waiting to be discovered. The first known records of the house date back to 1335, when the Hulton family passed the estate on to Wayne Rankin.
Many generations of Radcliffe passed on the house, but tragically in 1485 the last Radcliffe passed away without a male heir. The only people left after it too were the Bartons, who were very wealthy sheep owners.
They owned the house for almost 200 years. John Barton fought and died at the Battle of St Albans. Since this happened, the estate was passed by marriage to the Belsis family.
There were other people to own this property, like the Ainsworths and the Bolton Council. Over the years, the property has seen many deaths, given the possibility of supernatural beings living inside, as well as paranormal activities.
In the Great Hall, a psychic reported seeing two people standing in front of him, wearing 15th century clothing. The man appeared to be muscular and the woman looked distressed.
Bloody Mary became queen and made rules stating everyone will pray to the Christian God. However, George Marsh disobeyed the queen's rules and stayed as a Protestant.
This Yeti being brought in front of Robert Barton, who owned the estate at the time it happened. He was found guilty and therefore got burnt alive on the stake in front of the house.
A visitor who came as a child was looking around the green room when a figure's shadow was moving around at the top of the stairs. When this was seen, one of the workers said it was time to leave.
When the boys said there was another person in the room, the workers said they were the only ones left. We hope you come and solve some of these mysteries for yourself.
Smithills Hall is a beautiful but torturous place in northern Bolton in Lancashire. Today we will learn about the haunting and the lethal deaths of people that live there. Did you know Smithills Hall was passed down from 1335 from the Hulton family to William Radcliffe, and it has also been passed down from many other people such as the Ainsworths and the Bartons. Did you know that in 1938 it was sold to Bolton Council for £70,600? It has recently been turned into a working museum, even though ghosts are lurking everywhere in the grounds. One day, friends of Smithills Hall were in the building and saw someone praying on their knees, and it hadn't even been opened yet. More people went to have a look, but no one was there. One day, a worker was going to remove dead flowers, and she got pushed with such a force that she got a graze. Unsurprisingly, over the years, there has been a lot of spooky sights, like murders, ghosts, and sightings of people such as George Marsh. One of the weird things that had happened is every night when they wake up, the glasses had been turned upside down. During the War of the Roses, John Barton had been killed. In the Great Hall, a strange man appeared, and also a woman dressed in a 15th century dress. The man appeared to be strong, whilst the woman seemed to be distressed. George Marsh went against the Queen Mary Tudor, and his punishment was to be burned alive. He was questioned in the Green Room, and that is where they say George Marsh haunts that sort of place. A child once reported seeing him at the top of the stairs. Someone had also seen there was someone there at lock-up time. Thank you for listening. We hope you come and discover their secrets.
Smithills Hall tells an 800-year story. The first written records of the hall began in 1335.
In 1485, the last Radcliffe to own an estate died without a male heir. The hall was passed to the Bartons and owned it for almost 200 years.
Smithills Hall was owned until 1659, then passed on by marriage to the Blazer family. The family owned many other properties in the UK, so the hall went into a period of neglect.
In 1801, the hall went into a stage of being extensively rebuilt and modernised. It was sold to Bolton Council for £7,600.
One day, a man who was leaving the hall heard the gallops of a horse when there was no horses to be seen. Giggling of children and meowing of cats are reported by members of staff and people looking around the hall. George Marsh in the Green Room. Bolton farmer George Marsh protested during the reign of Catholic Queen Mary Tudor, brought before Robert Barton, the owner of the estate. In the hall's green room, Mr. Marsh was burnt alive in the stake.
A visitor of the hall, as a child, noticed a man standing at the top of the stairs outside of the green room. Could this be the lifeless ghost of George Marsh?
The tour guide told the young boy that they were the only family left in the whole building.
The chapel. A friend of the owner in Smithills Hall was beside the pulpit. He went inside the chapel and saw someone already kneeling down doing a prayer.
More recently, a member of staff was removing some dead flowers and was pushed from behind with such force that they received grazes. Multiple encounters of this happening increased when you go around the hall. More encounters. At one time, a Fuji mirror was hung up in the shop, and the manager walked past. Then he saw a figure with black 50th century clothes and white bushy hair. He looked again and nothing was there.
There are many other strange encounters at Smithills Hall, like the glasses in the Colonel's room.
Smithills Hall is a grand and extravagant building dating back to 1335 when William Radcliffe passed it on, when the Holton family passed it on to William Radcliffe.
Over the years, it has been passed on by several families from generation to generation to generation.
However, specific parts of the estate has been modernised and restored over time. Centuries ago, the Grade 1 listed building was claimed as many families' ancestral home, the Bartons, Ainsworth and the Bellises.
Consequently, a short while after, the home was inherited by the Ainsworth, so they started a plan of extensive restoration and multiplication.
Disappointingly, due to neglect and ignorance coming from the Bellisi family in the 1700s, the home entered an extended period of disregard. However, unfortunately because of financial issues, the home was sold to Bolton Council in the 1900s. More improvements were made. However, petrifying paranormal activity began with sightings of spirits. All of this has to be a myth, or is it? Ghosts in the house. Unsurprisingly, due to its long history, over the centuries there has been many peculiar and shocking encounters at Smithills Hall.
For example, many have reported being engulfed by a chill, definitive to areas of the estate.
Another situation with a spooky sighting is during a tour there has been a sighting of an elderly man and woman clothed in a 15th century dress. This suggests that these people are from the past, or connected to the fate of George Marsh. George Marsh in the Green Room.
George Marsh was present during the renewal of the derivative Catholic Queen Mary, who's commonly known as Bloody Mary.
During his conviction, he was brought before Robert Barton, the current owner of the Tudor estate.
After the events of the tragedy that took place in the Green Room, George Marsh was convicted guilty, sadly due to his religion. He was burnt alive on the 24th of April 1555.
Visitors reported strange sightings of an odd-looking man sat in the Green Room, slamming doors, flipping glasses, and most notably causing various acts of paranormal activity. Many families have asked the staff who the man sat upstairs was. The staff have told the visitors, to their amazement, only family remained in the hall. To this day, the visitor is convinced that the only explanation for the man upstairs that he was George Marsh. Thank you for listening to our report. I hope you come back to Smithills Hall soon.
Smithills Hall is a beautiful, but if you stay for too long, those will make your spine shiver. Join us in this heart-racing journey.
Smithills Hall has been passed down by many generations from the Bartons, the Ainsworths and the Bellises. But long after, when the Bellis family owned it, they neglected it in the 1700s, and in 1938 Smithills Hall was sold to Bolton Council for £7,600.
There has been many ghost sightings, such as the man at the top of the stairs, the man and woman in 15th century clothes, and the mysterious shadows that run the halls at night.
The man at the top of the stairs was called George Marsh. He was a farmer and got interrogated and burned at the stake. In the garden, the only thing left of him was a footprint at the bottom of the stairs before he died.
In the hall, a man and woman in 15th century clothes was to be seen. The man was looking to be strong and the woman was looking to be distressed. It's not confirmed if this is to do with John Barton's fate.
There is also unexplained encounters in the chapel. One day, one of the friends of Smithills Hall saw someone there before it was open to the public praying.
There was a mirror in the hall shop. One day the manager glanced into it and saw a man waiting outside and turned around to see nothing. He did it again and seen him with the first sighting on the stairs.
A member of staff who worked there once heard horses and children laughing and footsteps on the gravel in the night, but nobody was there. We hope you enjoyed our fascinating story.
We hope to see you there soon.
Smithills Hall has an 800-year-old story. Smithills was first noted in 1335 when the Horton family passed it on to William Radcliffe.
Over the years, it passed on to many families such as the Bartons, the Angels and the Blees. In 1485, after the last Radcliffe had sadly passed away in the hall, it was passed on to the Bartons, and it was now owned by the Bolton Council and has stories to tell.
Throughout the long history there has been sightings such as doors slamming, glasses being flipped and glass cups moving on their own. There has also been sightings of figures like a ghost of George Marsh upstairs in the green room. There have been people complaining of hearing cats and babies in the Great Hall.
In the Great Hall, a very strange looking man and woman in 15th century clothing have also been seen. This is thought to be connected to John Barton.
Following George Marsh in the green room, following his trial as a Protestant during the reign of the devoted Catholic Queen Mary, Tudor Bolton Brown, George Marsh was brought before Robert Barton, who was the owner of the estable in the hall's green room. George was burnt at the stake on the 24th of April 1555.
A visit once had a visit to Smithills as a child. He had noticed a strange man at the top of the stairs towards the green room. As the results when the museum had closed, someone announced that the man who was upstairs was George Marsh.
There has also been unexplained encounters in the chapel. One day, one of the friends of Smithills Hall, who was in the building before it was opened, someone entered the chapel and saw someone praying on their knees.
Most recently, a member of staff had removed some of the flowers from the chapel. Then they got pushed
in the stuff behind into the wall, which such as force they receive degrees.
Thanks for being here at Smithills Hall, and thanks again.
Smithills Hall is famous for its grandeur and beauty, but it's also famous for the atmosphere and its long history of inspiring ghost stories.
In 1335, the Horton family passed it on to William Radcliffe. Over hundreds of years, numerous families have owned Smithills Hall: the Bartons, Ainsworths and the Bellazyres.
After the Bellazyres, the hall entered a period of neglect, so Bolton Council took over the hall and still own it to this day.
Once Smithills Hall was a care home and now it's a museum. Many people reported paranormal activity inside the hall and within its grounds.
Unsurprisingly, there have been many spooky sightings and experiences in Smithills Hall, such as ropes moving, glasses falling, and unseen hands.
In the Great Hall, a reputed psychic has reported a man and woman in 15th century dress. The man looked really strong and the woman looked very distressed. Could this be related to the fate of John Barton?
The ropes in Smithills Hall often swing to of their own accord, as if somebody had brushed past, but nobody was there. Staff members have often heard cats meowing and children giggling, but no cats or children were around.
A Puget mirror was hung up in the shop, and when the manager glanced into the mirror, he saw a man watching him with white, bushy hair and in all black. When he turned around, he wasn't there, but the man saw him again, and in the third sighting, he was on the stairs. Could this be one of the Ainsworths?
There was one family left in the hall, and one of the children told a member of staff that there was someone at the top of the stairs. They were told that that was impossible, as they were the only family left in the building. That's very odd to me.
Following his trial, Bloody Mary sentenced George to be burnt alive. He was burnt at stake on the 24th of April 1555, and apparently he haunts the Green Room where they made the decision. A member of staff was removing dead flowers and she was pushed from behind into the wall. With such a force, she was left with bad grazes.
One of the friends of Smithills Hall reported that there was someone in prayer, but was told that they were the only member of the public in Smithills Hall. We hope you have enjoyed our tour of Smithills Hall.
Smithills Hall is a history of buildings dating back thousands of years. It's been home to many families all across northern Bolton, because that's where this beautiful building originated.
Before the 1335, Smithills Hall was owned by the Houghtons, but 1445 Smithills was obtained by the Radcliffes. After that, the Bartons took over because the last male in the Radcliffe died.
This was home to the Bartons for nearly 200 years, but passed to the Bellazyres by marriage. Unluckily, the Bellazyres had many other properties around England, so it was forced into a series of neglect.
1881 was the year for Smithills Hall. It was bought by the Ainsworths, so they started modernising the house from its series of neglect.
After that, Bolton Council started maintaining the house and restoring the west wing. They paid $70,600 in 1999 for this ancestral home. This has also been a care home and most currently a museum.
A member of the staff who worked at the hall when it was a care home, they described the sounds of horses passing, but there was nothing there.
The stairs was like the main paranormal site, as many people on different occasions have said they felt cold hands touching them. With sudden drops in temperature, who wouldn't wonder what's happening?
The director once arrived early, footsteps crossed the gravel, so he wondered what was happening. He looked around, but yet no one was there.
In 1555, George Marsh believed strongly in his religion, but the Queen at the time, Mary, was Catholic, so he was burnt to the stake.
A visitor visited and saw a man at the end of the stairs. It was looking up time, and the visitor said about it, and the attendant said there was no one there, but but people believed this was George Marsh.
In the hall, a psychic has reported seeing a woman and a man, a strange man. The woman was in a 15th century dress and felt distressed. On the other hand, the man was strong and calm. This matched John Barton. Would you dare to come here?
Smithills Hall dates back many years and is located in the county, Lancashire. It has been used as an execution place. Many people have seen sightings of ghostly figures there.
Many people have owned this ghostly hall, such as William Radcliffe, the Horton family, the Bartons, the Bellarside family, the Ainsworth family, and now it's owned by the Boston Council. The Bellarside left the hall in neglect, but the Ainsworth restored it.
As it goes back hundreds of years, it is not really surprising that this ancient house may be haunted. Lots of people have been executed in this area due to crime and law breaking.
The most famous story from this hall is the story of George Marsh and his tragic death. Some people say that they saw a man in the grave room, the place where George Marsh was convicted of a crime.
George Marsh was a Protestant in the time Mary, Bloody Mary, was on the throne. Many people, as she was Mary, as she was a Catholic, made a law saying everyone had to be a Catholic just like her.
George Marsh disobeyed the Queen and continued his prayers. He was soon found out and set for questioning in the grave room.
He was found guilty and sentenced to death. He was burned alive outside of Smithills Hall.
People have reported seeing a man inside the grave room, even when the hall was clear with no soul. Could this be George Marsh?
George Marsh is not the only ghostly figure supposedly seen. Many more supernatural figures have been seen by staff and visitors on the hall's ground.
One sighting was by a worker in the Great Hall. As people have reported being touched on the stairs by the leg, people have also reported hearing sounds of horses and civilians outside, but after checking, no soul was seen.
People suspect these footsteps are horses from an attack that happened hundreds of years ago. Some people escaped on foot, others on horseback. Could these sounds be them?
A psychic has seen a strange man on the stairs. Maybe that could be the person grabbing people's legs.
Before George Marsh was executed, he made a footprint in a piece of stone. After many supernatural sightings, the staff decided to put the footprint where George Marsh was killed.
After putting the stone in the place where George Marsh was burnt alive, the supernatural activity stopped. How weird is that?
We hope you come and see the Smithills Hall tour. You won't regret it.
Smithills Hall is a beautiful historic building owned by the Bolton Council due to financial problems. Its first owners date back thousands of years.
This extravagant building has been owned by the Bartons, the Ainsworth and the Leases. The atmosphere in the building and its long history seems to require certain storage.
Many people have reported seeing many ghosts in here in different places. Different unexpected things have happened around the house, like glasses flipping over on their own, ropes swinging back and forth, and strange meowing in the night.
The shop manager was casually doing his job. Then one day, suddenly, he was petrified after looking in the mirror because there was a pale man with white bushy hair and black clothes staring right back at him. When he turned around, a mysterious man was gone. Who was he?
Even when you're not in the building, you can't escape the supernatural. The only way you can escape is to be far away.
Many hearings of ghosts have been heard by members of staff, such as horses galloping around the outside, children giggling, and people walking on gravel behind them.
Whilst people have been in the Great Hall, they have been given a shock by male and female ghosts. They were wearing clothes from the 15th century.
These ghosts probably weren't aiming to harm anyone, but people have seen them in the Great Hall, but they haven't been
Those in the chapel are probably the most unexpected. Some women have been seen kneeling down and praying to God at the front.
When a woman once visited the chapel, she came out grazed after being shoved against a wall. Another ghost was spotted sitting on the front row of pews, looking to the front.
We hope you visit Smithills soon.
We'll see you there. Enjoy.
Smithills tells an 800 years old story. It has been passed on from 1335 to 1999, and various people have owned Smithills.
The Hudson family was the original owners of Smithills, but William Radcliffe inherited a huge manor in 1335.
In 1485, the last Radcliffe to own the estate died. Smithills was then passed on to a family of sheep owners, who are now known as the Barton family.
The hall was home to the Bartons for almost 200 years, but was then passed on to the Bellis's family by marriage in 1659. The Bartons had many other houses, so Smithills went through a long period of neglect.
In 1801, the Ainsworth family bought a manor and they were successful Bolton bleachers. The Ainsworth family then modernised and extended Smithills.
In 1999, Smithills was sold to the Barton family for £70,600 and was turned into 3 different things: care home, residential home and a working museum.
The Green Room is the most haunted room in Smithills. The Green Room is the Green Room is the most haunted room in Smithills. The Green Room was where George Marshall questioned Evie haunts that room to this very day.
One day, one of the friends of the hall went into the chapel to be alone, but little did he know someone was already in there kneeling and praying. He went to the chapel and saw nothing. More recently, a member of staff was seen taking some dead flowers and was pushed with such a force to receive the grave the next day.
There was many strange encounters like rope swinging and cup slipping.
Unsurprisingly, considering its a long history, over the years there has been many spooky sightings and odd experiences at Smithills Hall. We hope you go there soon and share some stories. Thank you for listening to our report.
Smithills Hall is not just famous for its grandeur and beauty, it's also famous for its ghostly stories and how many accidents have happened.
Smithills Hall tells an 800-year story. Even though it is a beautiful historic building dating back thousands of years in North Bolton in the county of Lancashire, it is wild.
In 1485, when the last Radcliffe to own the estate died without a male heir, Smithills was passed in to the Bartons, a wealthy family of sheep owners. Smithills was sold to them for almost 200 years. Until the 1659, the hall and estate was passed by marriage to the Bellis's family.
The Bellises owned many other properties around England, did not need to keep Smithills Hall. As a result, the hall went through a period of neglect.
In 1801, the hall and estate was sold to the Ainsworth family, who were successful Bolton bleachers. Under generations of Ainsworth, Smithills was extensively rebuilt and modernised.
In 1870, Richard Henry Ainsworth, a nephew of Peter Ainsworth, but also Connor Ainsworth's son, inherited the house. The West Wing was neglected for many years, but was restored by Bolton Council in 1999.
In 1838, Smithills was sold to the Bolton Council for £70,600, and the Victorian part of the hall became a council residential, and after a day centre until the 1990s, the museum was attached into some of the Victorian part of the house.
During the War of the Roses, John Barton fought and died at the Battle of St Albans in the Great Hall. A reputed sidekick reported seeing a strange-looking man and a woman, both of whom appeared to be in 15th century dress.
The man appeared to be strong, whilst the woman seemed to be in distress. Could this unexplained experience be linked to John Barton?
Ghostly shadows, invisible hands, alternative temperature changes, and watchful eyes lie in wait at Smithills Hall. Even after you've walked out Smithills Hall, you are not safe from the supernatural, as unexplained events and experiences that have took place under the main hall lying waiting for you.
During the last week of May in 1644, Prince troops have released the cage of Latham House, stormed Bolton town, putting people to the stakes.
Also, a member of staff who worked at the hall when it was a residential home later described how the sounds of horses passing the house were heard regularly, going on late into the night. However, when noises were heard, anyone checking would see no sign of either horses or drivers.
Don't let the looks deceive you. It isn't as pleasant as you think.
Hope to see you